Delta Flight 1147. Miami to Chicago. 34,000 feet above Illinois farmland. Both engines explode at exactly the same moment. Boom. Boom. The sound is like thunder inside a metal tube. Passengers scream. Oxygen masks drop from the ceiling. The plane shudders violently. 312 people on board. Men, women, children, babies. The aircraft starts falling from the sky. In the cockpit, Captain Richards grabs the controls. His hands are shaking. First Officer Chen is reading emergency checklists with a voice that cracks with fear. Both engines are gone, Richards says into his radio. We're declaring an emergency. Down below, in the Air Traffic Control Center, controllers stare at their screens in horror. They run calculations. They check airports. They measure distances. The nearest airport is 71 miles away. The plane can only glide 65 miles maximum. They won't make it. 312 people are going to die. Unless someone does something impossible. One controller remembers something. A classified memo. A name. A pilot who did something like this before. He grabs his phone and calls military command. We need Viper, he says. Find someone with call sign Viper. She's the only one who can save them. Military command checks the passenger list for Flight 1147. They find her. Morgan Hayes. Seat 28E. The pilot who was banned from flying for life. The pilot everyone blamed for killing 47 people 3 years ago. The pilot the world thinks is a murderer. Black Hawk helicopters scramble into the air. Their radios crackle with urgent commands. Find Captain Morgan Hayes on that aircraft. Call sign Viper. Find her now. Lives depend on this. Nobody on Flight 1147 knows she's on board. Nobody knows she might be their only chance to survive. Before you read this complete story, comment below, from which country are you watching? Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories like this. Morgan Hayes sits in the middle seat of row 28. Economy class. The cheapest ticket she could find. She's 38 years old but looks older. Her face shows the weight of 3 hard years. She wears old jeans and a gray hoodie. The hood is pulled up over her head. Sunglasses hide her eyes even though she's inside the plane. She doesn't want anyone to see her face. She doesn't want anyone to recognize her. In her lap is a thriller novel. She's been reading the same page for 10 minutes without absorbing a single word. Her mind won't focus. Memories keep pushing through. Headphones cover her ears. No music is playing. She just wants people to think she's busy. She wants them to leave her alone. The businessman in seat 28D keeps trying to make conversation. Flying to Chicago, he asks with a friendly smile. Morgan nods without looking at him. Business or pleasure? Morgan doesn't answer. She pretends she can't hear him through her headphones. The businessman gives up and returns to his laptop. Morgan is glad. She can't handle small talk. She can't handle questions. She can't handle the risk that someone might recognize her voice, her face, her name. Because Morgan Hayes is famous. Not the good kind of famous. The kind of famous where people send you death threats. Where strangers scream at you in grocery stores. Where your own father stops speaking to you. 3 years ago, Morgan was a pilot. Not just any pilot. She was the youngest female captain in Delta Airlines history. She was promoted at age 35 after 12 perfect years of service. She had a call sign from her Air Force Reserve days, Viper. They gave her that name because she was precise and deadly accurate under pressure. Fast decisions. Perfect execution. Everyone respected her. Crew members loved flying with her. Passengers felt safe when she was in command. Then came Flight 2891. Atlanta to Denver. Routine flight. 178 passengers. Both engines failed at 31,000 feet. Morgan fought for 14 minutes to save that plane. She tried every emergency procedure in the book. She glided the aircraft 89 miles looking for a place to land. She found a clear field. She executed what should have been a perfect emergency landing. But at the last second, one wing clipped a power line tower. The plane cartwheeled across the ground. It broke apart. Morgan woke up in a hospital with a broken back and 3 broken ribs. 47 people were dead. The investigation that followed destroyed her life. Delta Airlines needed someone to blame. They couldn't let the truth come out about their maintenance failures. They couldn't admit they had skipped required engine inspections for 18 months to save money. They couldn't reveal they had used cheap counterfeit parts from black market suppliers. So they blamed Morgan. They hired expert witnesses who said she made wrong decisions. They claimed she panicked. They painted her as an incompetent woman who froze under pressure. The media believed every word. Morgan's face was on every news channel for months. Headlines called her the killer pilot. Online trolls sent thousands of death threats. Some families of passengers who died sued her personally. Her pilot license was permanently revoked. Her husband divorced her. He said he couldn't handle the media attention. Her father, a retired airline captain himself, disowned her. "You brought shame to our family," he told her. Those were the last words he spoke to her. Morgan lost everything. Her career. Her reputation. Her savings went to legal defense. Her family. Her home. Her life. For 3 years now, she's been living in Miami where nobody knows her. She drives an Uber at night, wearing a baseball cap and using a fake name. She lives in a tiny apartment with furniture from thrift stores. She has nightmares every single night. In her dreams, she flies that crash over and over. She sees the faces of the 47 people who died. She hears their screams. She carries guilt that crushes her chest. Survivor's guilt mixed with the wrong blame of the world. Twice in 3 years, she stood on her apartment balcony thinking about jumping. The only reason she didn't was a small group of aviation engineers who privately contacted her. They believe she's innocent. They've been quietly investigating Delta's cover-up for 3 years. But they can't go public without losing their jobs. So Morgan lives in disgrace. The world thinks she's a murderer. Children learn about her in aviation safety classes as an example of what not to do. And today, for the first time in 3 years, Morgan is flying on a commercial plane. She bought this ticket to Chicago for one reason: her father is dying. Terminal cancer. The doctors say he has weeks left, maybe days. Morgan doesn't know if he'll even see her. He hasn't answered her calls or letters for 3 years. But she has to try. She needs to see him one more time before he dies. She needs to tell him the truth, even if he won't believe her. She deliberately chose Delta Airlines. It was a test of her courage. Facing her fear. She boarded with her hood up and sunglasses on. She avoided eye contact with everyone. She found her seat in the back and tried to disappear. Just a quiet flight to say goodbye to her father. That was the plan. Then the captain's voice comes over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Richards. We're experiencing some turbulence. Please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts." Morgan's trained ear catches something wrong in his voice. He's too calm. Hiding something. That's the voice of a pilot who doesn't want to panic passengers but is actually very worried. Then she feels it. The aircraft shudders in a way that's not turbulence. Morgan's hands grip the armrests. Her body goes rigid. She knows that feeling. She's felt it before. No. Please, no. The explosion is massive. Boom. The entire aircraft lurches to the right. Passengers scream. Bags fall from overhead compartments. Then a second explosion. Boom. The plane lurches left. Morgan's book falls to the floor. Her sunglasses slide down her nose. The oxygen masks drop from the ceiling with a loud crack. Yellow masks dangle in front of every seat. The automated announcement plays, "Please place the mask over your nose and mouth and breathe normally." All around Morgan, people are screaming, crying, praying. But Morgan is silent. Her mind is racing through emergency procedures. Her training kicks in automatically after 3 years of not flying. She knows exactly what just happened. Both engines have failed. Catastrophic turbine disc failure. The same failure that happened on Flight 2891. The aircraft is now a glider. It's falling from the sky. In the cockpit, Captain Richards and First Officer Chen are working frantically. "Engine 1 is gone," Chen says, his voice tight with controlled panic. "Engine 2 is gone. We have no thrust." Richards keys his radio. "Mayday, mayday, mayday. Delta 1147 has experienced dual engine failure at 34,000 feet. We are declaring an emergency." The air traffic controller's voice comes back immediately. "Delta 1147, roger your mayday. What are your intentions?" "Looking for nearest suitable airport," Richard says. He's scanning the navigation display. "We need options, fast." Richards has been flying for 22 years. He's handled emergencies before. Engine failures, hydraulic problems, electrical issues. But never both engines at once. This is the nightmare scenario. The 1 in 10 million event that every pilot secretly fears. The aircraft is silent now except for the wind rushing past. Without engines, there's no roar of thrust. Just eerie quiet and the sound of air flowing over the wings. They're gliding. But they're losing altitude fast. 2,100 feet per minute. At that rate, they have about 15 minutes before they hit the ground. First Officer Chen pulls up the nearest airports on his screen. "Abraham Lincoln Capital Airport in Springfield," he says. 71 miles at our 2 o'clock position. Richards does quick mental math. "Not good. What's our glide ratio in this configuration?" he asks. Chen checks the performance data. "Best case, maybe 17 to 1. We're at 34,000 feet, so maximum glide distance is about 65 miles. Richards feels his stomach drop. "We can't make 71 miles. "No sir, we cannot." In the cabin, passengers are crying and holding each other. Mothers clutch their children. Strangers hold hands. People pull out phones to send final text messages to loved ones. The businessman in 28D is typing frantically on his laptop. "I love you," he writes to his wife. "I love you so much. Tell the kids I love them. I'm so sorry." The woman in 28F across the aisle from Morgan is praying loudly. "Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name." But Morgan isn't praying. She's calculating. Her mind is running through numbers automatically. Altitude. Descent rate. Wind speed. Distance to airports. She knows they won't make it to Springfield. She knows exactly what's going to happen next. She's lived this before. In the Air Traffic Control Center, Controller David Martinez stares at his screen. Flight 1147 is a green dot descending rapidly on his radar. The numbers next to it show altitude dropping, 32,000 feet. 31,500, 31,000. He's already checked every airport within range. None of them will work. David has been a controller for 17 years. He's guided thousands of emergency situations. He's never lost an aircraft. He's not going to start today. He grabs his phone and makes a call that breaks every protocol in the book. "Get me military command," he says. "Emergency priority." 30 seconds later, a voice answers. "This is General Marcus Webb, what's the situation?" "Sir, we have a commercial airliner with dual engine failure. 312 souls on board. Same scenario as Delta Flight 28913 3 years ago. No airports in glide range. They're going to crash unless we do something right now." There's a pause. General Webb knows about Flight 2891. He read the classified file. He knows what really happened. He knows about Delta's cover-up. He knows about the pilot who was wrongfully blamed. "Who's flying that aircraft?" Webb asks. "Captain Thomas Richards. Good pilot, but he's never faced anything like this." "Is there anyone else on board who has?" David takes a breath. This is crazy. But he has to try. "Sir, I received a classified memo 6 months ago from an aviation safety investigator. It said Captain Morgan Hayes from Flight 2891 was innocent. It said she actually demonstrated extraordinary skill saving 131 people. It said she was the scapegoat for Delta's maintenance fraud." "I know that memo," Webb says quietly. "I read it too. Where is Captain Hayes now?" "That's the thing, sir." David pulls up the passenger manifest for Flight 1147. His hands are shaking as he scans the names. There. Row 28, CD. Hayes, Morgan. "Sir, she's on the plane. Morgan Hayes is aboard Flight 1147. For 3 seconds, there's silence on the line. Then General Webb's voice comes back sharp and commanding. "Scramble every Black Hawk in the area. I want eyes on that aircraft immediately. Find Captain Morgan Hayes. Get her to that cockpit. Presidential authorization, do it now." Within 90 seconds, 3 Black Hawk helicopters are airborne and racing toward Flight 1147's position. The lead pilot, Major Sarah Chen, call sign Badger Lead, receives her orders directly from General Webb. "Find passenger Morgan Hayes, call sign Viper. She's in seat 28E. She's the only person who can save that aircraft. Make contact immediately." Badger Lead accelerates her Black Hawk to maximum speed. She can see Flight 1147 ahead, a white dot against blue sky, descending steadily. She switches her radio to the emergency frequency that broadcasts to the airliner's cabin. "Delta Flight 1147, this is Badger Lead, United States Military Escort. We need to speak with passenger Captain Morgan Hayes immediately. Call sign Viper. This is urgent. Lives depend on this." In the cabin of Flight 1147, the announcement from the Black Hawk blasts through the speakers. Every passenger hears it. "We need passenger Captain Morgan Hayes. Call sign Viper." The flight attendant, Patricia Rodriguez, looks confused. She grabs the passenger manifest and scans it quickly. "Hayes, Morgan. Seat 28E. Patricia walks quickly down the aisle toward row 28. Her heart is pounding. Why would the military need a specific passenger? She reaches row 28 and looks at the woman in the middle seat. Hoodie. Sunglasses. Hunched over, trying to be invisible. "Excuse me," Patricia says. "Are you Morgan Hayes?" The woman doesn't move for 3 seconds. Then slowly, she nods. Patricia leans closer. "The military is asking for you. They said it's urgent. They called you Captain Hayes." At the word, "Captain," the businessman in seat 28D looks up sharply from his laptop. He stares at the woman next to him. Really looks at her face. The hoodie. The sunglasses. The way she's been hiding. His eyes go wide. "Oh my God," he says loudly. Oh my God, you're her. You're that pilot. Other passengers nearby turn to look. What pilot? Someone asks. The businessman points at Morgan. His hand is shaking. His face has gone pale. She's the pilot from Flight 2891. The crash 3 years ago. The one who killed 47 people. She's the killer pilot. The words hang in the air like a bomb. Then chaos erupts. The woman in seat 28F screams. She's the one who killed all those people. And she's on our plane. A man 2 rows back stands up, shouting. What is she doing here? Why is she on this flight? She crashed a plane, another voice yells. She murdered 47 people. Patricia holds up her hands, trying to calm everyone. But more passengers are standing now, looking toward row 28 with fear and anger. Morgan sits frozen in her seat. Her worst nightmare is happening. They recognize her. They know who she is. 3 years of hiding, and now, at the worst possible moment, her identity is exposed. A teenage girl 3 rows up is filming with her phone. Oh my God, you guys, the killer pilot is on our plane, she says to her camera. This is insane. The businessman is backing away from Morgan like she's contagious. You can't be here, he says. You shouldn't be allowed on planes. You're dangerous. Morgan finally speaks. Her voice is quiet, almost a whisper. I'm not dangerous. I tried to save them. You killed them, a woman shouts from across the aisle. Morgan pulls her hood down. She removes her sunglasses. For the first time in 3 years, she lets people see her face. She looks tired. Beaten. There are dark circles under her eyes. Her face is thinner than it was in the news photos from 3 years ago. But it's definitely her. Morgan Hayes. The killer pilot. Patricia sees the recognition spreading through the cabin like wildfire. Passengers are pulling up old news articles on their phones. Showing each other photos of the crash. Reading headlines. Pilot error kills 47. Incompetent captain crashes plane. Delta pilot stripped of license after deadly accident. A young woman in her 20s stands up from seat 23C. She's been crying since the engines exploded, but now her face shows something else. Recognition, but different from the others. Wait, she says loudly. Everyone wait. She pushes past other passengers and walks toward row 28. She stops in front of Morgan and stares at her. You're Captain Hayes, the young woman says. It's not a question. Morgan nods. The young woman's eyes fill with tears. My brother was on Flight 2891. His name was Carlos Martinez. He died in that crash. The cabin goes silent. Morgan's face crumbles. I'm so sorry, she whispers. I'm so sorry. I tried to save him. I tried to save everyone. The young woman, her name is Sarah Martinez, wipes her eyes. I know you did, she says. The businessman looks shocked. What? How can you say that? She killed your brother. Sarah turns to face him and the other passengers. No, she didn't. Delta killed my brother. I've spent 3 years researching what really happened. My brother was an engineer. Before he died, he was investigating Delta's maintenance records because he suspected fraud. I continued his work after the crash. She pulls out her phone and holds it up. Delta skipped required engine inspections. They used counterfeit parts. They falsified their maintenance logs. They covered it up by blaming Captain Hayes. She was their scapegoat. She tried to save 178 people when both engines failed because of Delta's criminal negligence. She saved 131 of them. She's a hero, not a killer. Murmurs spread through the cabin. But not everyone is convinced. Then why was she banned from flying, someone asks. Why did she lose her license? Because corporations have more power than truth, Sarah says bitterly. Because Delta has billions of dollars and Captain Hayes had nothing. They destroyed her to protect themselves. Patricia, the flight attendant, speaks up. None of this matters right now. The military asked for Captain Hayes specifically. They said lives depend on it. Maybe we should listen. The businessman shakes his head violently. You want to let her near the cockpit? She'll kill us all. We're already dying. Sarah shouts. Both engines are gone. We're falling from the sky. The military asked for her because she's the only one who's survived this before. She's our only chance. Morgan still hasn't moved from her seat. She's listening to them argue about her like she's not even there. This is what the last 3 years have felt like. People discussing her, judging her, condemning her, without ever asking her side of the story. But what Sarah said is true. They're dying. All 312 people on this plane are dying. And Morgan knows she can save them. She's done it before. Almost. She was 800 feet short. But she's learned from that mistake. This time, she can do it right. This time, everyone lives. The question is, does she have the courage to try? Morgan sits in seat 28E while passengers argue around her. Her hands are trembling. Her heart is racing. Her breath is coming in short gasps. This is a panic attack. She hasn't had one this bad since the first month after the crash. In her mind, memories flood back. Waking up in the hospital and learning 47 people were dead. The news anchors calling her incompetent. The families screaming at her during the investigation. Her husband serving her divorce papers. Her father's voice on the phone, "You're no daughter of mine." The death threats in her mailbox. The online trolls telling her to kill herself. 3 years of shame and disgrace and pain. And now these passengers are looking at her with the same judgment. The same hatred. The same fear. Part of her wants to stay in this seat and do nothing. Let someone else handle it. Let the pilots in the cockpit figure it out. She's suffered enough. Why should she risk her life to save people who think she's a murderer? But then another voice speaks in her mind. Her flight instructor from 15 years ago, a gruff former Navy pilot named Jack Morrison. She can hear his voice as clearly as if he's sitting next to her. Hayes, he used to say, when people's lives are on the line, your pride doesn't matter. Your feelings don't matter. Your reputation doesn't matter. Only one thing matters, saving them. That's what we do. That's what pilots do. We bring people home. And another voice. Her mother's voice. Her mother died when Morgan was 12 years old. Cancer. But Morgan remembers her last words. Morgan, baby, listen to me. Courage isn't never being afraid. Courage is doing what's right even when you're terrified. Even when everyone is against you. Even when it's hard. That's when courage matters most. Morgan closes her eyes. She thinks about the 47 people who died on Flight 2891. She sees their faces. She remembers their names. She couldn't save them. She tried with everything she had, but she was 800 feet short. But today, she can save 312 people. Today, she gets a chance to prove who she really is. Not to the world. Not to these passengers. Not to her father or her ex-husband or the media. To herself. She opens her eyes. She stands up. Every passenger in nearby rows turns to look at her. Morgan's voice is quiet at first, then grows stronger. My name is Captain Morgan Hayes. I was the captain of Flight 2891 3 years ago. I didn't kill 47 people through incompetence. I saved 131 people through everything I knew how to do. Delta Airlines committed criminal fraud to cover up their maintenance failures. They blamed me to protect their profits. I lost my career, my family, my life. She pauses. Her voice cracks slightly, but she keeps going. I won't lie to you. I made a mistake on flight 2891. I miscalculated the headwind by 2 knots. That mistake cost me 800 feet. That 800 feet cost 47 lives. I have nightmares about it every single night. I will carry that guilt until the day I die. Passengers are listening now. The anger has faded. They're seeing her as a human being for the first time. But I learned from that mistake, Morgan says. I know exactly what I did wrong. I know exactly how to do it right. And if you'll let me try, I will bring all 312 of you home safely. I promise you that. The cabin is silent. Then Sarah Martinez speaks. I believe you. Patricia, the flight attendant, nods. The military asked for you specifically. That has to mean something. But the businessman isn't convinced. How do we know you won't crash us like you crashed them? Morgan looks him directly in the eyes. You don't know. You have to choose to trust me. Just like those 131 people who survived Flight 2891 chose to trust me when I told them to brace for landing. Just like I'm choosing to trust myself one more time, even though the world told me I'm a failure. She starts walking toward the front of the cabin. Patricia moves aside to let her pass. As Morgan walks up the aisle, passengers stare at her. Some with fear. Some with hope. Some with curiosity. A little boy, maybe 6 years old, looks up at her from his mother's lap. Are you going to save us? He asks. Morgan stops. She kneels down next to his seat. Yes, she says softly. I'm going to save you. I promise. She stands and continues walking. Behind her, Sarah Martinez follows. I'm coming with you, Sarah says. My brother believed in doing the right thing. I believe in you. They reach the cockpit door. Patricia picks up the phone and calls the cockpit. Captain Richards, this is Patricia. I have a passenger here who says she's Captain Morgan Hayes. The military asked for her. She wants to help. There's a pause. Then the cockpit door unlocks with a click. Morgan takes a deep breath. She opens the door and steps into the cockpit. Captain Thomas Richards is 53 years old. He's been flying for Delta for 22 years. He's handled emergencies. He's trained for worst-case scenarios. But this is different. Both engines are completely dead. The aircraft is gliding. Descending 2,100 feet per minute. They're at 28,000 feet now and dropping fast. First Officer David Chen is 29. This is his second year as a first officer. He's trying to stay calm, but his hands are shaking as he reads emergency checklists. Engine restart procedure has failed, Chen says. Both engines show no response. Richards is scanning the navigation display, looking for options. Any airport. Any runway. Any clear space. Nothing. Then the cockpit door opens. Richards looks back, annoyed. They don't have time for interruptions. He sees a woman in jeans and a hoodie. She looks tired and scared. Who are you? Richards asks sharply. Captain Morgan Hayes, she says. Air Force Reserve, 12 years Delta service, call sign Viper. The military sent me. Richards' face goes pale. He recognizes that name. Everyone in aviation knows that name. You're the pilot from Flight 2891, he says. Morgan nods. I know this scenario. I've lived it before. Let me help. Richards and Chen exchange glances. You crashed, Chen says. It's not accusatory, just stating a fact. I crash-landed, Morgan corrects. I saved 131 people from an unsurvivable situation. And I learned from the mistake I made. I know exactly what to do differently this time. Richards is torn. This woman's reputation is destroyed. Everyone knows she failed. Everyone knows she killed 47 people. But the military specifically asked for her. And right now, Richards has no good options. Okay, he says. Talk to me. What do you see? Morgan moves forward and scans the instruments. Her eyes move rapidly across the displays. Altitude. Descent rate. Speed. Navigation. Her training kicks in automatically. It's been 3 years since she's been in a cockpit, but it feels like yesterday. You're at 28,000 feet, descending 2,100 feet per minute, she says. You've got about 13 minutes until ground impact. You're looking at Springfield Airport, 71 miles away. You can't make it. We know, Richard says grimly. But there's nothing else. Yes, there is. Morgan points to the navigation display. Interstate 55 runs parallel to our flight path. There's a long straight section through farmland. If we can make it to mile marker 178, there's a 3-mile straight stretch with minimal traffic. We can land there. Chen looks at her like she's crazy. Land on a highway? A commercial airliner? It's been done before, Morgan says. And I've practiced this scenario in my head for 3 years. Every single night in my nightmares. I know exactly how to do it. Richard studies the display. He can see Interstate 55. It does run parallel to their course. A highway landing is insane. But what choice do they have? What's your glide ratio calculation, he asks. Morgan closes her eyes and runs the numbers in her head. We're at 28,000 feet. Best glide ratio for an A320 is 17:1. That gives us maximum glide distance of 65 miles. Mile marker 178 on I-55 is 58 miles from our current position. We can make it with 7 miles to spare. Richards is impressed despite himself. She did that calculation in her head in 5 seconds. What about wind? Chen asks. Wind is the critical factor, Morgan says, and for the first time, emotion cracks her voice. 3 years ago, I miscalculated the headwind by 2 knots. It cost me 800 feet. That 800 feet meant I clipped a power tower and 47 people died. I won't make that mistake again. She points to the weather display. Current winds aloft at our altitude are 15 knots from the northwest. As we descend, that will decrease to about 8 knots at surface level. I'll compensate for the wind gradient throughout the descent. We'll reach our target exactly. Richards makes a decision. He doesn't have time to debate. They're at 26,000 feet now. 12 minutes until impact. Okay, Captain Hayes. You have the aircraft. Morgan's hands shake as she grips the controls for the first time in 3 years. It feels like coming home. It feels terrifying. I have the aircraft, she confirms. She keys the radio to speak to the Black Hawks. Badger lead, this is Viper. I'm in the cockpit. I have an emergency landing plan. I need you to coordinate with Illinois State Police to clear Interstate 55 between mile markers 176 and 181. I'm putting this aircraft down on the highway. The response is immediate. Viper, this is General Marcus Webb. I've read your case file. I know what really happened on Flight 2891. I know Delta covered up their maintenance fraud and blamed you. This is your chance to prove who you really are. Bring them home, Captain. Tears fill Morgan's eyes but she blinks them away. There's no time for emotion. Copy that, General. Beginning approach. She turns to Richards and Chen. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Morgan's voice is steady now. The fear is still there, but it's buried under years of training and 3 years of thinking about this exact scenario. 3 years ago, I had both engines fail just like this, she begins. I calculated I could reach a clear field 89 miles away. I flew a perfect glide profile for 14 minutes. I executed emergency landing procedures exactly right. But at the last 30 seconds, I realized I'd miscalculated the headwind effect by 2 knots. That meant I was going to be 800 feet short of my target field. Richards and Chen listen intently. My only option at that point was to land short. There was a road and there were power lines. I chose the road. But my wing clipped the power tower. That's what caused the cartwheel. That's what killed 47 people. Because I was off by 800 feet. Her voice cracks but she pushes through. Delta blamed me for the entire crash to hide their maintenance fraud. They said I made wrong decisions. They said I panicked. But the truth is, I flew that emergency perfectly except for one calculation. And I've had 3 years to think about what I did wrong. So what did you do wrong? Chen asks quietly. I didn't account for wind gradient accurately enough. As you descend from altitude, the wind speed changes. It's not linear. I used an average wind speed for my calculations, but I should have calculated the wind at each 1,000-foot increment. That 2-knot error in my average meant 800 feet at the end. She points to the navigation display. This time, I'm not using averages. I'm calculating wind at every level. Current wind at 26,000 feet is 15 knots from 310 degrees. At 20,000 it will be 13 knots. At 10,000 it will be 10 knots. At surface it will be 8 knots. I'll adjust my glide path continuously to compensate. Richards nods slowly. That's sophisticated flying. It's what I should have done 3 years ago, Morgan says. I learned from my mistake. Today, everyone lives. What do you need from us? Richards asks. Chen, I need you on the radio coordinating with air traffic control and the Black Hawks. Give them our exact position every 30 seconds. Richards, I need you monitoring altitude and speed. Call out every 1,000 feet. And I need both of you to run the landing checklist. You're flying manual the whole way. Chen asks, surprised. Autopilot won't get us where we need to go, Morgan says. This has to be hand-flown. Every adjustment matters. She keys the radio again. Badger lead, how's the highway looking? Major Sarah Chen's voice comes back through the static. Viper, Illinois State Police are clearing Interstate 55 now. They're setting up roadblocks at mile markers 176 and 181. Emergency vehicles are positioning along both sides. You'll have a 5-mile landing zone. Highway is clear. Copy that. Beginning descent profile now. Morgan adjusts the aircraft's pitch slightly. The nose drops just a fraction. She's starting the long, controlled descent that will end on a highway 58 miles away. Altitude 25,000 feet, Richards calls out. Descending 2,000 feet per minute. Speed 240 knots. Good, Morgan says. Chen, make the announcement to the passengers. Tell them what's happening. Chen picks up the cabin PA microphone. His hand is shaking. Ladies and gentlemen, this is First Officer Chen. Captain Morgan Hayes is now in command of this aircraft. We are executing an emergency landing on Interstate 55. Please listen carefully to flight attendant instructions. Secure all loose items. Make sure seatbelts are tight and low across your lap. Remove sharp objects from your pockets. Remove glasses and high-heeled shoes. When we tell you, you will assume brace position. We will land in approximately 11 minutes. In the cabin, passengers react with fresh panic. Some cry. Some pray. Some sit in shocked silence. But Patricia and the other flight attendants move through the aisles, helping people prepare. Showing them how to brace properly. Checking seatbelts. Taking away laptops and bags that could become projectiles. Sarah Martinez sits in seat 23C. She's not afraid anymore. She believes in Morgan. She believes her brother's death will not be in vain if Morgan saves these people today. The businessman in 28D is typing frantically on his phone while he still has signal. I was wrong about the pilot, he writes to his wife. She's trying to save us. If I don't make it, I love you. But I think we might actually survive this. Morgan flies with absolute concentration. Her hands make tiny adjustments to the controls every few seconds. Her eyes scan the instruments constantly. Altitude. Speed. Descent rate. Wind. Distance. Every number matters. Every calculation must be perfect. Altitude 22,000 feet, Richards calls. Descent rate 1,900 feet per minute. Speed 235 knots. Morgan makes a small correction. The descent rate was too high. She adjusts the pitch up slightly. Descent rate now 2,050, Richards says. Perfect. She's maintaining the exact profile she needs. The Black Hawks are flying alongside now, one on each side. The pilots can see the commercial airliner gliding silently through the sky. No engine noise. Just the whistle of wind. Major Chen radios in. Viper, you're looking good from our position. Highway is clear. Traffic is stopped. Emergency vehicles ready. Copy, Morgan responds. 18 minutes to landing. But then something unexpected happens. The aircraft shudders. A different kind of shudder than before. Morgan's eyes dart to the controls. Something's wrong. We're experiencing asymmetric drag, she says quickly. Left side is higher than right. Richards checks the displays. Left wing is showing 3 degrees higher than right. Morgan knows what this means. Without engines, they have no hydraulic pressure. The flight controls are running on backup power. And something is malfunctioning. The left aileron is stuck partially up, she says. We're going to have a rolling tendency to the right. This is bad. Very bad. If the aircraft keeps rolling right, she won't be able to keep it level. They'll spiral out of control. Can we compensate? Chen asks, fear in his voice. I can try, Morgan says. But it's going to take constant pressure on the controls. My arms are going to get tired. She pushes the control yoke to the left, counteracting the rolling tendency. It takes significant force. How long can you hold it? Richards asks. 16 more minutes, Morgan says through gritted teeth. I'll hold it for as long as it takes. This wasn't in her plan. This is a new complication. But Morgan has trained for unexpected problems her entire career. Pilots don't panic. Pilots adapt. Altitude 18,000 feet, Richards calls. You're doing great, Captain. Morgan's arms are already starting to ache. She's pushing hard on the left side of the yoke, fighting against the aircraft's tendency to roll right. Sweat forms on her forehead. This is going to be harder than she thought. But she doesn't have a choice. 312 people are counting on her. Morgan makes a decision. The passengers deserve to hear from her directly. Chen, give me the PA, she says. Chen hands her the microphone. Morgan keys it on. Her voice broadcasts throughout the entire cabin. This is Captain Morgan Hayes. Some of you know who I am. Some of you think I killed 47 people 3 years ago. I need to tell you the truth about what happened, because you deserve to know who's flying this aircraft right now. In the cabin, every passenger stops what they're doing. Even the crying quiets down. They listen. 3 years ago, I was the captain of Delta Flight 2891. Both engines failed due to Delta Airlines criminal maintenance fraud. They had skipped required inspections for 18 months. They used counterfeit parts. They falsified their maintenance logs. When both engines exploded, I had 14 minutes to save 178 people. Morgan's voice is steady but emotional. I flew that aircraft for 89 miles looking for a place to land. I found a clear field. I executed an emergency landing. But I made one mistake. I miscalculated the headwind by 2 knots. That mistake meant I was 800 feet short of my target. My wing clipped a power tower. The aircraft broke apart. 47 people died. She pauses. In the cabin, some passengers are crying again. But not from fear. From emotion. Delta blamed me for everything to cover up their crimes. They painted me as incompetent. The media destroyed my reputation. I lost my career, my family, my life. For 3 years, I've been driving an Uber and living in disgrace while the executives who caused that crash kept their jobs and their billions. But here's what you need to know. I saved 131 people that day. And I learned from my mistake. I know exactly what I did wrong. I know exactly how to do it right. Her voice grows stronger. Today, we have the same emergency. Both engines are gone. But today, I'm not making the same mistake. Today, I'm calculating every wind variable perfectly. Today, I'm putting this aircraft exactly where it needs to be. Today, every single one of you is going home safely. She takes a breath. In 16 minutes, we're landing on Interstate 55. It's going to be rough. You're going to feel the impact. But I promise you, I will bring this aircraft to a complete stop safely. I promise you that you will see your families again. I promise you that you will hug your children and kiss your spouses and continue your lives. Because that's what pilots do. We bring people home. No matter what it costs us personally. No matter how scared we are. No matter what anyone thinks of us. My call sign is Viper. In the Air Force, they gave me that name because I strike with precision when it matters most. Today matters. So trust me. Brace when we tell you to brace. Stay calm. And know that I will die before I let this aircraft crash. She releases the microphone. In the cabin, something unexpected happens. Passengers start clapping. It begins with Sarah Martinez. She claps loudly, tears streaming down her face. Then the teenage girl who was filming earlier starts clapping. Then the mother with the young child. Then the businessman in 28D. Within seconds, the entire cabin is applauding. They believe her. They trust her. Patricia, the flight attendant, wipes tears from her eyes and continues preparing the cabin for landing. In the cockpit, Richards looks at Morgan with new respect. That was one hell of a speech, Captain. Morgan's arms are shaking from the effort of holding the controls against the stuck aileron. But she smiles slightly. Let's just hope I can back it up with a good landing. Altitude 15,000 feet, Richards calls. 13 minutes to touchdown. General Marcus Webb is watching everything from Military Command Center. He has live feeds from the Black Hawk cameras. He can see Flight 1147 descending steadily. He's also watching the news. Every major network is covering this now. Live footage from news helicopters shows the airliner gliding silently toward Interstate 55. The headlines are already updating. Disgraced pilot attempts impossible highway landing. Captain Morgan Hayes back in cockpit after 3 years. 312 lives depend on pilot blamed for crash. Webb ignores the headlines. He knows the truth about Morgan Hayes. He read the classified investigation that proved Delta's cover-up. He keys his radio. Viper, this is General Webb. I have every emergency resource in Illinois standing by. Medical helicopters, ambulances, fire trucks, trauma teams. When you land, we'll have help there in seconds. Morgan's voice comes back, strained from the effort of holding the controls. General, I appreciate that. But we won't need medical helicopters. Because nobody's getting hurt today. Webb smiles. He likes her confidence. Viper, you should also know, I've already contacted the FAA, the NTSB, and the Department of Justice. Investigation into Delta's cover-up is being reopened as we speak. Win or lose today, the truth about Flight 2891 will come out. There's a pause. Then Morgan's voice, thick with emotion. Thank you, sir. But I'm not planning to lose. I know you're not, Captain. Bring them home. The Black Hawks continue their escort. Major Chen can see the highway below now. Interstate 55 is completely empty of traffic for 5 miles. State police have set up roadblocks. Emergency vehicles line both sides of the highway, lights flashing. It looks like a war zone. Hundreds of first responders waiting. News helicopters circling at a safe distance. Thousands of people on social media watching live streams. This is the most watched emergency landing in aviation history. If Morgan succeeds, she'll be vindicated. If she fails, 312 people die and she'll be remembered as the pilot who failed twice. The pressure is enormous. But Morgan doesn't think about that. She thinks only about the numbers. Altitude. Speed. Distance. Wind. Every second, her brain processes dozens of calculations. Altitude 12,000 feet, Richards calls. 10 minutes to touchdown. You're right on profile. Morgan's arms are screaming in pain. The stuck aileron requires constant pressure to keep the wings level. Her muscles are burning. But she doesn't let go. She doesn't ease up. She holds the pressure steady. Chen, what's our distance to mile marker 178, she asks. Chen checks the navigation. 43 miles. Morgan does the math instantly. We're high. I need to increase descent rate. She pushes the nose down slightly. The aircraft drops faster. Descent rate now 2,300 feet per minute, Richard says, concerned. That's steeper than planned. I know, Morgan says. But we're going to be long if I don't. Trust me. Richards does trust her. He can see she knows exactly what she's doing. Every adjustment is precise. Every decision is calculated. She's not guessing. She's not hoping. She's flying with absolute certainty. Altitude 10,000 feet, Richards calls. 8 minutes to touchdown. The final approach. Morgan can see Interstate 55 below now. It looks like a thin gray ribbon cutting through green farmland. She can see the flashing lights of emergency vehicles. She can see the roadblocks. She can see the cleared 5-mile section where she needs to land. It looks impossibly small from up here. She's going to land a 150-foot-long, 100-ton aircraft on a road designed for cars. Altitude 8,000 feet, Richards calls. 6 minutes to touchdown. Morgan makes another adjustment. The descent rate is perfect now. The speed is exactly right. The heading is directly aligned with the highway. But her arms are in agony. The stuck aileron is requiring all her strength to counteract. Captain, do you need me to take the controls for a moment? Richards asks, seeing her struggling. No, Morgan says firmly. I have it. I'm not letting go. She's flown this approach in her nightmares 1,000 times. She knows every second of it. But this time, it's not a nightmare. This time, it's redemption. Altitude 6,000 feet, Richards calls. 4 minutes. In the cabin, Patricia makes the final announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, we are 4 minutes from landing. Please assume brace position now. Lean forward, put your head between your knees or against the seat in front of you. Put your hands over your head. Stay in brace position until the aircraft comes to a complete stop. Throughout the cabin, passengers lean forward into brace position. Mothers hold their children. Strangers hold hands with strangers. People pray in a dozen different languages. Sarah Martinez is in brace position, but she's not afraid. She whispers to her brother who died 3 years ago. She's going to make it, Carlos. She's going to save them. You were right to believe in her. The businessman in 28D is crying as he braces. He's thinking about his wife, his kids. He's thinking about how wrong he was to Judge Morgan. Altitude 4,000 feet, Richards calls. 2 minutes. Morgan can see details on the highway now. She can see individual emergency vehicles. She can see people standing beside the road watching. The entire world is watching. But Morgan isn't thinking about the world. She's thinking about the numbers. Altitude 3,500 feet. Speed 180 knots. Descent rate 2,100 feet per minute. Distance to threshold, 3.2 miles. Perfect. Altitude 3,000 feet, Richards calls. 90 seconds. Morgan begins configuring the aircraft for landing. Without engines, she can't use engine power to extend flaps slowly. She has to use gravity and air pressure. She pulls the flap lever. The flaps extend with a grinding sound. The aircraft shudders as drag increases. Speed bleeds off. 180 knots. 170, 160. Flaps full, Morgan calls. Landing checklist. Richards and Chen run through the checklist quickly. Everything that can be done has been done. Altitude 2,000 feet, Richards calls. 1 minute. Morgan is perfectly aligned with the highway now. She can see the centerline markings. She can see the mile markers. Mile marker 177. Mile marker 178 coming up. That's her target. Mile marker 178. Altitude 1,500 feet, Richards calls. 45 seconds. Morgan's hands make micro-adjustments. Compensating for wind. Maintaining the perfect glide slope. Her arms are shaking from exhaustion and pain. But her hands are steady on the controls. Altitude 1,000 feet, Richards calls. 30 seconds. The highway is rushing up fast now. Morgan can see individual cars that have been stopped at the roadblocks. She can see firefighters standing ready. She can see the news cameras. Altitude 500 feet, Richards calls. 20 seconds. Morgan is committed now. There's no going around. No second chance. This is it. She flies the aircraft down with absolute precision. Altitude 300 feet, Richards calls. 15 seconds. The highway fills her windscreen. It's coming up fast. Too fast. But Morgan knows it always looks too fast. She trusts her training. Altitude 200 feet, Richards calls. 10 seconds. Morgan raises the nose slightly. Flaring. Slowing the descent rate. Preparing for touchdown. Altitude 100 feet, Richards calls. 5 seconds. The main landing gear is feet above the pavement. Altitude 50 feet. The wheels touch. Screech. The tires hit the concrete highway. Smoke explodes from the landing gear. The nose gear comes down with a solid thud. They're on the ground. But they're traveling at 140 miles per hour. And they have 3 miles to stop. Morgan stomps on the brake pedals. Without engines, she has no thrust reversers. She has only brakes. The aircraft shudders as the brakes engage. The tires scream. Smoke pours from the wheels. 140 miles per hour. 130, 120. The aircraft is decelerating, but it's still going fast. Too fast. Morgan applies maximum braking without skidding the tires. Any harder and the tires will blow. Any softer and they won't stop in time. 110 miles per hour. 190. They've used 1 mile of the 3-mile cleared section. 80 miles per hour. 70, 60. 2 miles gone. 1 mile remaining. 50 miles per hour. 40, 30. The end of the cleared section is approaching. Emergency vehicles are ahead. If they don't stop in time, they'll hit the roadblock. 20 miles per hour. 10. The aircraft rolls slower and slower. 5 miles per hour. Morgan can see the faces of firefighters standing beside the highway. The aircraft comes to a complete stop. Exactly at mile marker 179. They used 2.7 miles of the 3-mile cleared section. Perfect. For 3 seconds, nobody moves. Then the cabin erupts. Passengers are crying, screaming, cheering. They unbuckle their seatbelts and hug each other. Complete strangers embrace. People laugh and sob at the same time. They're alive. All 312 of them. In the cockpit, Richards and Chen are in shock. "You did it," Richards whispers. "You actually did it." Morgan's hands are still on the controls. She's shaking. Tears stream down her face. She did it. She saved them all. She proved she's not the pilot who killed 47 people. She's the pilot who saved 312. Emergency vehicles rush toward the aircraft from all sides. Firefighters, paramedics, police. Patricia and the flight attendants open the emergency doors. Evacuation slides inflate with a loud whoosh. "Evacuate! Evacuate!" Patricia shouts. "Leave everything, go to the slides, jump and slide." Passengers rush toward the exits. They slide down onto the highway pavement. Emergency workers help them move away from the aircraft. In the cockpit, Morgan finally lets go of the controls. Her arms drop to her sides. She can barely move them. The muscles are cramped from 30 minutes of constant pressure. Richards helps her stand. "Captain Hayes, we need to evacuate too." Morgan nods weakly. She's exhausted. Emotionally and physically drained. They walk through the empty cabin toward the front exit. Morgan can hear passengers outside cheering. She can see camera flashes through the windows. She reaches the exit door and sees the slide extending down to the highway. She sits at the edge and pushes off. She slides down and lands on her feet on Interstate 55. The moment her feet touch the ground, her legs give out. She collapses to her knees. Everything hits her at once. The fear. The pressure. The pain. The relief. She saved them. She actually saved them. Sobs shake her body. 3 years of pain and shame and guilt pour out in this moment. Richards kneels beside her. "Captain, you need to stand up. There are cameras everywhere." But Morgan can't stand. Not yet. Then she feels arms around her. Someone is hugging her tightly. She looks up and sees Sarah Martinez. The young woman whose brother died on Flight 2891. "You did it," Sarah says, crying. "You saved us. You proved who you really are." More passengers gather around. They're not angry anymore. They're grateful. The businessman from 28D approaches, tears on his face. "I'm sorry," he says. "I was wrong about you. I'm so sorry." A mother holds up her young daughter. Tell the nice pilot thank you for saving mommy and you. The little girl waves shyly. Thank you. One by one, passengers come to Morgan. Thanking her. Hugging her. Crying with her. All 312 people are standing on Interstate 55. Alive and safe. Because one pilot refused to give up. Because one pilot learned from her mistakes. Because one pilot had the courage to try again when the world told her she was a failure. News cameras capture everything. This footage will play on every channel around the world. The disgraced pilot. On her knees on a highway. Surrounded by the people she saved. Redemption. Within 30 minutes, the world knows what happened. Social media explodes. Captain Morgan Hayes saves 312 people in impossible highway landing. Disgraced pilot proves her innocence with perfect emergency landing. Hero pilot executes flawless landing after both engines fail. Videos of the landing go viral. Passenger phone footage from inside the cabin. News helicopter footage from outside. It's viewed tens of millions of times in the first hour. But more importantly, other things start happening. The aviation engineers who have been quietly investigating Delta's cover-up for 3 years decide this is their moment. They've been waiting for the right time to go public. Morgan's heroic landing is that moment. They release everything. Internal Delta documents showing skipped maintenance inspections. Emails proving executives knew about the counterfeit parts. Financial records showing payments to suppress the NTSB investigation. Testimony from whistleblowers who were threatened into silence. The evidence is overwhelming. Within 2 hours, the FBI launches a criminal investigation into Delta Airlines. Within 4 hours, 3 Delta executives are arrested at their homes on fraud charges. The media narrative shifts instantly. Delta covered up maintenance fraud, blamed innocent pilot. Captain Hayes was scapegoat for corporate crimes. New evidence proves Morgan Hayes tried to save Flight 2891. Families of the 47 people who died on Flight 2891 start speaking out. Many of them had always felt something was wrong with the investigation. Now they know the truth. They're angry at Delta, not at Morgan. The NTSB announces they're reopening the Flight 2891 investigation with independent investigators. The FAA announces they're reviewing Morgan's license suspension. Everything Morgan lost 3 years ago is being given back. But she doesn't know any of this yet. She's sitting in an ambulance getting her arms examined. The paramedic says she has severe muscle strain from holding the controls for so long. She'll need physical therapy. Sarah Martinez sits with her. They've been talking for an hour. My brother Carlos was investigating Delta before he died, Sarah explains. He was an aerospace engineer. He found evidence of the counterfeit parts. He was planning to report them to the FAA. I think that's why he was on that flight. He was going to Denver to meet with federal investigators. Morgan's eyes widen. I didn't know that. After he died, I continued his investigation. I spent 3 years collecting evidence. I knew Delta was lying. I knew you tried to save everyone. But I couldn't prove it alone. Sarah takes Morgan's hand. Today, you didn't just save 312 people. You gave me the platform to expose the truth about what happened to my brother. The world is listening now. The evidence is going public. Justice is finally coming. Morgan starts crying again. I'm so sorry I couldn't save Carlos. You tried, Sarah says firmly. You were 800 feet short through no fault of your own. Delta killed my brother, not you. And today, you made sure their crimes won't kill anyone else. They sit together in the ambulance, 2 women connected by tragedy and now by triumph. Morgan is transported to a Chicago hospital for observation. The doctors want to make sure she's okay after the physical strain of the landing. As she's being wheeled through the emergency room, people recognize her. Doctors, nurses, patients. They applaud. They cheer. One nurse stops her wheelchair and shakes her hand. My sister was on your flight today. You saved her life. Thank you. Morgan doesn't know what to say. For 3 years, people have looked at her with disgust. Now they look at her with admiration. It's overwhelming. She's given a private room. The doctors examine her and confirm what the paramedic said, severe muscle strain, but she'll recover fully with rest and therapy. As she's lying in the hospital bed, a nurse brings her a phone. Someone's calling for you, the nurse says. He says it's urgent. Morgan takes the phone nervously. Hello. The voice on the other end is weak and raspy. But she recognizes it instantly. Morgan. It's her father. Morgan's hand trembles. Dad? I saw what you did today, her father says. His voice is thick with emotion. I saw it on the news. I watched you land that plane on the highway. Morgan can't speak. Tears choke her voice. I'm sorry, her father says. I'm so sorry I didn't believe you 3 years ago. I was wrong. I should have known my daughter better. I should have known you would never kill people through incompetence. Dad. Morgan whispers. I'm dying, Morgan. The cancer is in my liver now. The doctors say I have days, maybe a week. I know. That's why I was flying to Chicago. I wanted to see you. I want to see you too, her father says. I need to see you. I need to tell you to your face how proud I am. You're not just a good pilot. You're the best pilot I've ever seen. And I'm proud to be your father. Morgan sobs into the phone. I'll come to you right now. Which hospital? Northwestern Memorial. Room 412. I'm at Northwestern too. I'll be there in 2 minutes. She hangs up and calls for a nurse. I need a wheelchair. I need to get to room 412. Ma'am, you should rest. My father is dying. He's in this hospital. I need to see him now. The nurse understands. She brings a wheelchair. Morgan is wheeled through the hospital corridors. People stare at her. Some recognize her. Some whisper. But she doesn't care. She reaches room 412. Her father is in the bed. He's thin and pale. The cancer has ravaged his body. But his eyes are alert and clear. Morgan wheels herself to his bedside. They look at each other for a long moment. Then her father reaches out his hand. Morgan takes it. I'm sorry, he whispers. I'm so sorry for the things I said. I'm sorry I abandoned you when you needed me most. It's okay, Morgan says, crying. I forgive you. You saved 312 people today. You did what I could never do. You proved that you're the best of us. They talk for 2 hours. Morgan tells him everything about the last 3 years. The pain, the struggle, the loneliness. But also the small moments of hope. The engineers who believed in her. The strength she found to keep living. Her father tells her about his regrets. How he realized months ago that he was wrong. How he tried to call her but was too ashamed. How he watched every news story about her, hoping she was okay. Finally, exhausted, her father falls asleep. Morgan stays by his bedside all night, holding his hand. 2 days later, he dies peacefully with Morgan beside him. His last words are, "Call sign Viper suits you perfectly. You strike with precision when it matters most." 1 week after the Interstate 55 landing, the NTSB releases its revised report on Flight 2891. The press conference is broadcast live on every news channel. The NTSB chairman reads the findings. After a comprehensive independent investigation, we have determined that Captain Morgan Hayes demonstrated extraordinary airmanship and saved 131 lives in an unsurvivable scenario caused by Delta Airlines' criminal maintenance failures. Captain Hayes's decisions during the emergency were correct and professional. She executed emergency procedures properly. She flew an optimal glide profile. She selected the best available landing site. The crash was caused by a miscalculation of headwind that resulted in the aircraft being 800 feet short of the intended landing area. This miscalculation was a minor error that had catastrophic consequences due to the extreme difficulty of the situation. However, we must emphasize, 47 people died because of Delta's maintenance fraud, not because of Captain Hayes's piloting. Without her skill, all 178 people would have died. The original investigation was compromised by corporate interference and pressure. Captain Hayes was wrongfully blamed to protect Delta Airlines from legal and financial consequences. We are issuing a formal exoneration of Captain Morgan Hayes of all responsibility for deaths in Flight 2891. We are recommending her pilot license be immediately reinstated. And we are recommending criminal charges against Delta Airlines executives who participated in the cover-up. Morgan watches the press conference from her apartment in Miami. She's surrounded by reporters outside her building. Camera crews have been camped there for a week. But she doesn't care about the cameras anymore. She cares about the truth. And finally, officially, the truth is out. Her phone rings constantly. Job offers from every major airline. Speaking invitations. Book deals. Movie offers. She ignores most of them. But one call she does answer. It's from a small regional airline based in her hometown in Ohio. Captain Hayes, the CEO says, "We'd be honored if you'd consider flying for us. We're small, but we take care of our pilots. We believe in doing the right thing, not chasing profits." Morgan thinks about it. She doesn't need a big airline. She doesn't need to prove anything anymore. She just wants to fly and help people. That's all she ever wanted. "I accept," she says. Morgan is flying again. She wears a captain's uniform. 4 stripes on her shoulders. Wings on her chest. She flies a small regional jet with 70 passengers. Short routes connecting small cities. It's not glamorous. But it's honest work. Good work. Her crew loves her. Passengers feel safe with her. Word spreads that Captain Hayes is the pilot on certain routes, and those flights always book full. She teaches aviation safety seminars on weekends. She speaks at colleges and conferences. Her message is always the same: tell the truth, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Because the truth always matters more than profit. She helps pass new federal laws protecting whistleblowers in the aviation industry. She advocates for pilots who have been wrongfully blamed in crashes. And she visits families of the 47 people who died on Flight 2891. One by one, she meets with them. She tells them the truth about what happened. She shows them the evidence of Delta's fraud. She apologizes for not being able to save their loved ones. Most of them forgive her. They understand now that she tried her best. That she saved 131 people. That she was blamed for crimes she didn't commit. A few are still angry. Still blame her. She accepts that too. She knows grief is complicated. She doesn't expect everyone to forgive her. She's learning to forgive herself. The nightmares are less frequent now. She still sees the faces of the 47 people who died. But now she also sees the faces of the 312 people she saved. Balance. Passengers from Flight 1147 created an online fundraiser for her. They raised $2.8 million. Morgan was shocked. She tried to refuse it. But Sarah Martinez convinced her to accept. "You gave us our lives back. Let us give you a future." Morgan used the money to pay off the debts from 3 years of legal battles. She donated half to aviation safety research. She kept enough to buy a small house and start fresh. She's rebuilding. Slowly. Carefully. With hope. Morgan continues flying for the small regional airline. She's rebuilding her life piece by piece. She flies 3 days a week. The other days, she teaches at a flight school and speaks at safety conferences about corporate corruption and pilot protection. One day, months after the Interstate 55 landing, she receives a call from a young pilot named Jennifer Chen. "Captain Hayes, I'm in trouble. My airline is blaming me for a passenger death that wasn't my fault. They're trying to make me their scapegoat. I don't know what to do." Morgan's heart clenches. She knows this story. She's lived it. "I'm going to help you," Morgan says without hesitation. She uses everything she learned from her own experience. Connects Jennifer with the aviation engineers who helped expose Delta. Helps gather evidence. Speaks to media. Testifies at investigations. Jennifer is exonerated. Another pilot saved from corporate corruption. And Morgan realizes this is her new purpose. Not just flying. But protecting pilots who are wrongly blamed. She starts a nonprofit, the Viper Foundation for Aviation Justice. Within the first year, the foundation helps 12 pilots fight wrongful accusations. Within 3 years, 43. Each one is a life saved. A career restored. A truth revealed. "But Mommy says you landed on a road." "I did. It was a special emergency. But today we're landing at a normal airport." Elena seems satisfied with this answer. Sarah thanks Morgan and boards the plane with her daughter. Morgan finishes her walk around and enters the cockpit. Her first officer today is a young man named James, fresh out of flight school. This is only his 10th flight as a commercial pilot. "Captain Hayes," he says nervously. "It's an honor to fly with you. I studied your Interstate 55 landing in flight school. It was perfect." Morgan shakes her head gently. "It wasn't perfect. I made it work. That's different. Still, it was incredible." Morgan settles into the captain's seat. She runs through her pre-flight checks. Everything is automatic now. Muscle memory. But she never rushes. She never skips steps. She learned that lesson the hard way. The passengers board. 68 people today. Families, business travelers, college students going home. Each one is someone's daughter, son, mother, father. Each one deserves to get home safely. That's the weight Morgan carries every time she flies. Not the weight of her past. Not the weight of guilt. The weight of responsibility. And she carries it with pride. When everyone is boarded, Morgan makes her announcement. "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Captain Morgan Hayes. Welcome aboard Flight 447 to Chicago. Weather looks good today, smooth flight ahead. We'll have you on the ground in about an hour. Sit back, relax, and thank you for flying with us." She doesn't mention her past. She doesn't need to anymore. Some passengers recognize her name and whisper to each other. But mostly, people just trust her to do her job. Which is exactly how it should be. The tower clears them for takeoff. Morgan advances the throttles. The engines roar to life. The aircraft accelerates down the runway. At 150 knots, she pulls back gently on the controls. The nose lifts. The main gear leaves the ground. They're flying. Morgan feels it in her soul. This is where she belongs. In the sky. Flying. Bringing people home. The flight to Chicago is smooth and uneventful. Perfect weather. No problems. Sometimes perfect and uneventful is the best kind of flight. Morgan lands at O'Hare Airport with a gentle touchdown. The passengers applaud lightly. As they're deplaning, Sarah stops at the cockpit door. "Thank you, Captain. For everything. Not just for today's flight. For being brave enough to try again. For teaching Elena that heroes aren't people who never fall down. Heroes are people who get back up." Morgan's eyes mist over. "Thank you for believing in me when no one else did." Sarah hugs her tightly. Then she takes Elena's hand and walks off the plane. Morgan watches them go. A mother and daughter going home safely. Because Morgan did her job. It's a small moment. Unremarkable to anyone else. But to Morgan, it's everything. 3 months after the 1-year anniversary, the criminal trials begin. 5 Delta Airlines executives are charged with fraud, conspiracy, and involuntary manslaughter in the deaths of 47 people on Flight 2891. The trials are broadcast live. Morgan is called to testify. She sits in the witness stand in a federal courthouse and tells her story. The whole truth. The maintenance fraud. The cover-up. The scapegoating. The defense attorneys try to discredit her. They bring up the 800-foot miscalculation. They suggest she's bitter and lying. But then the prosecution plays video of the Interstate 55 landing. They show Morgan saving 312 people with perfect precision. "Does this look like an incompetent pilot to you?" the prosecutor asks the jury. The defense has no answer. Sarah Martinez testifies too. She presents her brother's research. The evidence he died trying to expose. Aviation engineers testify. They explain the counterfeit parts. The skipped inspections. The falsified records. Whistleblowers testify. Former Delta employees who were threatened into silence. The evidence is overwhelming. After 6 weeks of testimony, the jury deliberates for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. All 5 executives are sentenced to prison. Terms ranging from 12 to 25 years. Delta Airlines is fined $3.7 billion in order to pay compensation to the families of all 47 victims. Outside the courthouse, Morgan stands at a microphone surrounded by reporters. "Today, justice was served," she says. "Not for me. I was vindicated months ago. But for the 47 people who died on Flight 2891. For their families who deserved the truth. For every pilot who has been wrongfully blamed for corporate crimes." A reporter asks, "How does it feel to finally be exonerated?" Morgan thinks carefully before answering. Exoneration doesn't erase 3 years of pain. It doesn't bring back the 47 people who died. It doesn't undo the damage to my family and my life. But it does prove something important: the truth matters. Even when the truth takes years to emerge. Even when powerful people try to bury it. The truth always matters. "What's next for you, Captain Hayes?" Morgan smiles. "I'm going to keep flying. Keep bringing people home safely. That's what I do. That's who I am." Morgan is also invited to testify before Congress about new aviation safety legislation. Her passionate testimony helps pass the Hayes Act, laws protecting whistleblowers and preventing corporations from scapegoating pilots. A documentary about her story, Viper, is made and shown in flight schools worldwide, teaching the next generation about ethics and courage. On the anniversary of the Interstate 55 landing, a memorial is unveiled on the exact spot where Flight 1147 came to rest. It's a simple monument. A piece of granite with a plaque. The plaque reads, "On this spot, January 20, 2026, Captain Morgan Hayes landed Delta Flight 1147 after catastrophic dual-engine failure, saving 312 lives through extraordinary skill and courage." This memorial honors her bravery and reminds us that heroes are not people who never fail, but people who rise after falling. All 312 passengers from Flight 1147 are invited to the dedication ceremony. Most of them come. They stand along Interstate 55 on a cold January morning. The highway is closed for the ceremony. Morgan stands in front of the memorial, surrounded by the people she saved. Sarah Martinez is there with her daughter Elena, now 7 years old. The businessman from seat 28D is there with his whole family. Patricia, the flight attendant, is there with other crew members. Captain Richards and First Officer Chen are there. Even some of the families of the 47 people who died on Flight 2891 are there. They've forgiven Morgan. They understand the truth now. Morgan gives a short speech. 3 years ago, on this highway, I was given a gift. Not the gift of redemption, though I found that here. The gift was simpler, a second chance. Most people don't get second chances. Most people who fail, who fall, who are destroyed by circumstances beyond their control, they don't get to try again. I got to try again. And I'm grateful every single day. This memorial isn't for me. It's for everyone who has ever been wrongly blamed. Everyone who has ever been knocked down and told they'll never get back up. Everyone who has ever been called a failure. This memorial says, you can rise again. You can prove them wrong. You can save lives even after the world says you're only capable of destroying them. She pauses, emotion thick in her voice. And to the 47 people who died on Flight 2891, I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I tried with everything I had. I will honor your memory by continuing to bring people home safely for the rest of my career. You will never be forgotten. There's not a dry eye in the crowd. After the ceremony, people come up to Morgan. Thanking her. Hugging her. Taking photos with her. Elena, Sarah's daughter, tugs on Morgan's sleeve. Captain Hayes, when I grow up, I want to be a pilot just like you. Morgan kneels down to Elena's level. Then study hard, work hard, and always tell the truth even when it's scary. Can you do that? Elena nods seriously. I promise. Morgan hugs her. Then you'll be a great pilot someday. As the sun sets over Interstate 55, Morgan stands alone at the memorial for a moment. She traces her fingers over the engraved words on the plaque. 3 years ago, this highway was where her life changed forever. Where she proved she wasn't the pilot everyone thought she was. Where she found herself again. She looks up at the sky. Clear and blue. Perfect flying weather. Tomorrow she has another flight. Another group of passengers to bring home safely. And that's exactly what she'll do. Because that's who she is. Captain Morgan Hayes. Call sign, Viper. The pilot who strikes with precision when it matters most. The pilot who fell and rose again. The pilot who brings people home. Morgan is still flying for the small regional airline. She's had offers from major carriers. Delta even offered her a captain position with a public apology. She declined. She's happy where she is. She's remarried to David, a kind schoolteacher who understands her nightmares. She has a stepdaughter she loves. Life is good. Not perfect, but good. The Viper Foundation continues to grow, helping dozens of pilots who face wrongful accusations. And Morgan continues to fly, bringing people home safely, 3 days a week. Years later, Morgan decides to retire from commercial flying at age 47. Her last flight is deliberately chosen, Cincinnati to Chicago. The same route she's flown hundreds of times. The plane is full. Many passengers booked specifically to fly with her one last time. Sarah Martinez is there with Elena, now a teenager taking flying lessons. Patricia, the flight attendant from Flight 1147, comes out of retirement to work this final flight. Her first officer is Jennifer Chen, the pilot Morgan saved from wrongful blame years ago. It's an honor to fly your last flight with you, Captain, Jennifer says. Morgan smiles. The honor is mine. They run through pre-flight checks together. Everything perfect. Everything ready. Morgan makes her final passenger announcement. Good morning, everyone. This is Captain Morgan Hayes. Welcome aboard. For those who don't know, this is my last flight as a commercial airline pilot. I've had a long career. It's had ups and downs. Literally. Soft laughter from the cabin. But every single day, I've been honored to bring people home safely. Thank you for trusting me with your lives. Thank you for this incredible journey. Now let's have one more perfect flight together. Tower clears them for takeoff. Morgan advances the throttles. The familiar roar of engines. The acceleration down the runway. At rotation speed, she pulls back smoothly. The aircraft lifts into the sky. Morgan feels it one last time. The magic of flight. The joy of bringing people home. The flight to Chicago is perfect. Clear skies. No turbulence. Smooth and peaceful. Morgan savors every moment. Every small adjustment of the controls. Every radio call. Every scan of the instruments. This is the last time she'll do this as captain. As they approach Chicago, Morgan sees Interstate 55 below. She can see the memorial where Flight 1147 landed. She keys the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look out the left side of the aircraft, you can see Interstate 55 below us. 3 years ago, I landed an aircraft with 312 people on that highway after both engines failed. Today, I'm flying over it one last time with working engines and grateful heart. Life is about second chances. About rising after you fall. About proving that yesterday's failures don't define tomorrow's possibilities. She pauses. Thank you for being part of my journey. Thank you for this last flight. And thank you for letting me bring you home one more time. Morgan lines up for landing at O'Hare. Final approach. Gear down. Flap set. She's done this thousands of times. But this last time, she pays attention to everything. The feeling of the controls in her hands. The sound of the engines. The sight of the runway ahead. All of it. She flares perfectly. The main gear kisses the runway. Gentle. Smooth. Perfect landing. The cabin erupts in applause. Morgan taxis to the gate. She completes the shutdown checklist. Engines off. System secured. She sits in the silent cockpit for a moment. It's done. Her career as an airline pilot is over. But she's not sad. She's grateful. As she walks through the cabin for the last time, every passenger stands and applauds. Some are crying. Some are filming. Elena Martinez is at the cockpit door. She hands Morgan a bouquet of flowers. When I become a pilot, Elena says, I want to be just like you. Morgan kneels and hugs her. Be better than me. Learn from my mistakes. But never stop fighting for truth. Outside the aircraft, the airline has arranged a water cannon salute. Fire trucks spray arcs of water over the plane as Morgan descends the stairs. Her colleagues are waiting. Pilots, flight attendants, mechanics, ground crew. They form two lines and she walks between them as they applaud. At the end of the line stands General Marcus Webb, the military officer who authorized her to fly Flight 1147. He salutes her. Morgan, surprised, returns the salute. Well done, Captain, Webb says. You served with honor. That evening, there's a retirement party. Hundreds of people. Passengers she saved. Pilots she helped. Students she taught. But the person Morgan looks for is Sarah Martinez. She finds her standing by the memorial wall. Photos of Flight 1147. Photos of the Interstate 55 landing. Photos of all the pilots Morgan has helped over the years. Thank you, Morgan says quietly. For believing in me when no one else did. Sarah turns and smiles. You saved my life. But more than that, You helped me find justice for my brother. That's a debt I can never repay. You don't owe me anything. We saved each other. They stand together, looking at the photos. Two women who were strangers 3 years ago. Now friends. Sisters in struggle and triumph. What will you do now? Sarah asks. Morgan smiles. I'm going to run the Viper Foundation full-time. Help more pilots. Fight more cover-ups. There's still so much work to do. And maybe, she adds softly, I'll finally let myself rest. Finally let myself heal completely. I've spent 5 years proving I'm not the person they said I was. Maybe it's time to just be who I am. And who are you? Sarah asks. Morgan thinks about the question. She's not the killer pilot anymore. She's not the disgraced captain. She's not even the hero of Interstate 55. She's simply Morgan. A woman who fell and rose again. A woman who learned that redemption isn't about erasing the past, but about building a better future. A woman who brings people home. I'm a pilot, Morgan says finally. I bring people home. That's who I've always been. That's who I'll always be. This story is dedicated to every person who has been wrongly blamed, publicly shamed, and told they are failures. You are not defined by what others say about you. You are not defined by your worst moment. You are defined by what you do after you fall. Rise. Prove them wrong. And never stop bringing people home to the ones who love them. Call sign Viper teaches us, strike with precision when it matters most. And it always matters most when everyone says you can't. The truth is like an aircraft attitude, sometimes you have to descend through clouds of lies before you can climb into the clear sky of vindication. And the pilots who save lives aren't always the ones with perfect records, but the ones with perfect courage to try again when the world has told them they've already failed.